This is the review for the topic 8 in Advanced Algebra 1. So let's get started here. Remember when it says average rate of change, they're asking us to find the slope. And the points are generated by the equation f of x equals 3x squared minus x plus 2, and they want us to find the average rate of change over the interval -2 is less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 2. So that means I need to find f of -2, and that's going to be 3 times -2 squared minus -2 plus 2. Remember, this negative is being squared. You have to be careful how you plug that into your calculator. So that's going to be 3 times 4. It's going to be 12 plus 4 plus 2. So 12 plus 4 is 16. I get 18. So this ordered pair is -2, 18. And then I do the same thing. I find f of 2, which is 3 times 2 squared minus 2 plus 2. Again, that's going to be 12. Minus 2 is 10. Plus 2 is 12. So my other point is 2, 12. And that's what I want to find the slope of. Average rate of change is slope. So now to find that slope, I take the y value minus the other y value, and I have to go the same direction. I did 18 minus 12, so I have to do -2 minus 2. And I get 6 over -4, which reduces to -3/2. Doesn't matter where we put that negative, I like to put it in the numerator. All right, number 2. Let's just look at this on the review worksheet actually. This is a parabola, opens up because there's no linear term. The vertex is going to be at 0, 0. Same thing here. This is a parabola. It's going to open up because the 3 is positive, and the vertex is going to be at 0, 0. And the 3 in front is going to make that parabola pretty skinny. And the 1/6 in front is going to make that parabola pretty wide. And so now let's look at what they want us to answer. G is wider than F. Well, yeah, we just said that. Okay. F and G open in the same direction. Yep, they both open up. F and G have the same vertex. They do. F and G have the same axis of symmetry. Well, if they have the same vertex, they have to have the same axis of symmetry. So for this problem, A, B, C, and D are all correct. I can't guarantee it'll be that way on the quiz, on the test, sorry. Our next question, what's the axis of symmetry? Well, the vertex is going to be -2, -5, so the axis of symmetry is x equals the x coordinate of the vertex, so it's x equals -2, which is C. Okay. The parent function for this next question is f of x equals x squared, and they want us to write the translation of this 3 units left, so that's going to go in with x, okay, that's the h, and 2 units up, that's going to go in on its own, that's going to be the value for k. Remember that it's y equals a times x minus h quantity squared plus k. Well, they're not going to give us a way to find a, so we're not going to have that. But they are saying that it's going to move 3 units left, which means it's going to be +3 quantity squared because we take the opposite, and it's going to be 2 units up, so it'll be +2. That one stays the same. Okay. Then the next one. The function models the height in feet of a kangaroo t seconds after it jumps. What's the maximum height? And remember, when they ask me to find the maximum height, they're asking me to find the vertex. And here specifically, because they're asking for the maximum height, they're asking me to find the y-coordinate of the vertex. So x equals the opposite of b over 2a. So that's going to be negative 18 over 2 times negative 16, which is negative 18 over negative 32, which reduces to 9 over, head scratcher, 9 over 16. Yes, and that's the x value. So that's when the maximum value occurs. They want us to find the maximum values. That makes it a little bit harder question. So we're going to take negative 16 times, why I wrote my parenthesis that way, negative 16 times 9/16 squared plus 18 times 9/16. Okay, I have to do some math here. This is going to be negative 16 times 81 over 256. Okay, because 16 squared is 256, 9 squared is 81. And this is going to be, I'm going to reduce here. I'm going to make this 8. I'm going to make this 9. So I'm going to have 81 over 8. Okay. And then over here, obviously this was 16 squared. So I can reduce this. This 16 will go into here 16 times. So what I have is negative 81 over 16 plus 81 over 8. So I don't quite have a common denominator. And I'm just going to get a little help from my friend here and make sure I've got everything correct. So first thing I'm going to do, since I have a graphing calculator, is I'm going to put that into y equals. And the reason I'm doing that is because I can then ask it to find a value for me. So there's, oops, you're not seeing that. There's that graph. I'm going to spread out my x-axis a little bit. Didn't really do what I wanted it to do. But what I can do is I can then, we'll go back to that. I want to take negative 16, and I'm going to type this in the way it's written there, negative 16, and then a parenthesis, and I'm going to have 9/16 squared plus 18 times 9/16, and I get that. I want a fraction. 81 over 16 is what I'm getting. Not confident in that answer. 16. See what I get when I go to the graph and trace the value, and I want to put in 9/16, 5.0625, which is 81/16. So I'm getting 81/16. I don't know. I just don't know that I have a mistake. 81 times 2. With a common denominator, this would be negative 81/16 plus 162/16, which is 81/16. No, I thought I did this problem before, and that answer is just not ringing a bell with me. But we're going to let it be. Everything's coming up on my calculator as that being the correct answer. Negative 16x squared plus 18x. And all right, we're going to let it be. If I made a mistake there, hopefully maybe somebody could find it for me. It's frustrating. Can't find what you're looking for there. So this is number 6. Moving on. I've wasted enough of your time trying to look at that. Nikki wants to surround an 8-inch by 6-inch painting. So they're actually giving me the dimensions of the painting. It's 8 inches by 6 inches. Okay. With a frame that is W inches wide. Okay. So the frame now is W inches all the way around. Okay, so this is slightly different, which on assessments sometimes we make that a little bit different. So this is W now, this is 6, and this is W. And so that means that this side is going to be 2W plus 6. And similarly, W plus 8 plus W is going to be 2W plus 8. And we want to write a quadratic function A in standard form. So A of W. Boy, things aren't going well today. I didn't even... Alright, so I drew my original picture, 6 by 8, and then put a frame around it. And the frame is W all the way around. So to get the length of this whole side over here, we take W plus 6 plus W. We get 2W plus 6. And similarly, W plus 8 plus W is 2W plus 8. And we want to write a quadratic function in standard form of the area of the whole thing. So 2W plus 6 times 2W plus 8. So we get, when we multiply that out, we get 4W squared plus 16W plus 12W plus 48. Or the way we would want you to write your answer is A of W equals, because I did tell you to use the variable W, and I told you to name the function A. So A of W equals 4W squared plus 28W plus 48 would be our answer when we simplify that. Okay. 7, I'm actually going to go back to our sheet here. Does the data suggest linear, quadratic, or exponential? And so for linear, we look at the first difference. And so I'm just going to extend my chart here. And my first difference I'm looking at the y values. So -4 minus -10 is 6. 2 minus -4 is 6. 8 minus 2 is 6. 14 minus 8 is 6. So we don't need to go any further. The first differences are all the same. So that's a linear model. Remember that if these aren't approximately equivalent, the answer could also be none. Okay, so even though I haven't listed it as an option up here, it's still a possibility that it could be none. All right, number 8. We have y equals the quantity x minus 3 squared plus 2. So we're supposed to find all the things and graph it. And so all the things are, we start with the vertex, and then we go to the axis of symmetry. Just going to do some abbreviating here. We find the domain, we find the range, find the x-intercepts, whether or not there are any, and we find the y-intercept. Okay. And so the vertex, we're in vertex or graphing form, so it's the opposite of what's with the x, and the same as what's for the y over here. The axis of symmetry is the equation for a vertical line, x equals 3. The domain is all real numbers. The range we'll look at, we'll determine that, and we'll plug in 0 for x. If I plug in 0 for x, I get -3 squared is 9, plus 2 would be 11. Okay, and then we go about graphing this thing. So my vertex is at 3, 2. So that's going to be right here. Okay, and then a point I should plug in to help me get the other points I need. I should graph at least 5 points. So I'm going to plug in 2 because it's right next to 3. So if I plug in 2, I get 2 minus 3 quantity squared plus 2. That's -1 squared is 1 plus 2 is 3. So there's a point at 2, 3. And then I can use the axis of symmetry to get this point over here. Polly is on high alert today. And then I would plug in 1. Get 1 minus 3 quantity squared. So that's going to be -2 squared is 4. And 4 plus 2 is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then axis of symmetry yonder. And we don't have room for that y-intercept because it's all the way up there at 11, somewhere up there. Okay. And so there's our parabola with all the things. We have the vertex, the axis of symmetry, domain, and if you can't make that symbol, we've talked about this, then you can write out all real numbers. The range is y is greater than or equal to 2 because it's from here up, so greater than or equal to 2. And that's all the stuff. So then our next one is in standard form. F of x equals -2x squared plus 4x plus 1. So we are in standard form, and And so to find the vertex, I use x equals the opposite of b over 2a. So that's going to be negative 4 over 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4 over negative 4, which is 1. So the y value is negative 2 times 1 squared plus 4 times 1 plus 1. So negative 2 plus 4 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So our vertex is at 1, 3. And this parabola opens down because of that negative 2 in front. The axis of symmetry is x equals 1. The domain be all real numbers. The range, we'll look at the graph once we get there. The x-intercepts will be yes or no. The y-intercept, it's the beauty of standard form is if I plug in 0 up here, I get 1. The y-intercept is 0, 1. I forgot to answer the question up here about the x-intercepts. Are there x-intercepts on this one? No, because it does not cross the x-axis. So for right now, we're just saying no for that question. Okay. So now we get back to this question, and we're going to graph this thing. It opens, like I already said, it opens down. Okay, so vertex is at 1, 3. And if I plug in 0, I already know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get 1. Then I can use the axis of symmetry to get this other point, and that's the y-intercept. Range is going to look like it's going to be y is less than or equal to 3. There are going to be x-intercepts, so that's yes. I need one more point, so I'm going to plug in 3. Okay, so if I plug in 3, I get negative 2 times 3 squared plus 4 times 3 plus 1. And so let's see, that's going to be 9, negative 18 plus 12 is negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. So 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then axis of symmetry right there. So there's my 5 points, and boom, that's it. Of course, if we can't make 5 points fit on the graph, then we can make an exception there, as long as we graph it correctly. But for these two problems, 5 points easily fit on the graph. I didn't even need to change what I counted by or anything, so it's all good. Have any troubles or questions, make sure you get those answered before the test, and that's all I have.